What's going on, guys? It's Wayne here. Welcome to video 3, the last part of our Introduction to Pivot Table series. If you haven't watched part 1 or part 2 and you're interested, please click the link up here. Alright, so we have a decently sized data set, about 74 records, with column titles here. Now, let's create the pivot table. We can see that the table will grab from A1 to E75, so A1 to E75. That's the end. We can also double check with the marching ants. Looks good. Now let's create a new worksheet. Right click, pivot table options, display, into the classic pivot table layout. Now this is just personal preference. If you don't like it, you can always drag down here. Now let's say we want to look at revenues, and that'll be in values. Let's do it by subdivision. So it looks like we have a few of these. Very small, pretty small, not as big, and more than 500. Group segments can go into the columns, so now we can see that it's been matrixed. We can still see the grand total here, so if I actually take this out, this is the grand total, 455,000. Group segment, nothing's changed, but the breakdown is here. Say we want to look at it by date. Now we've dragged date on top of subdivision. Now this looks very messy, so let's clean this up a little. Perhaps we want subdivision by year. Now we can expand collapse entire field. We can see by year what subdivision. So this looks not very good either. So let's say we're only focused on the year. So we can right click and group, and we see that month, quarters, and years, they've been highlighted. But let's say we only want years. So date has to be on top. So we can right click, expand collapse, collapse again. Now we can see everything only by year. And if we want, we can drill into the subdivision. Another way to kind of slice and view our data in another way is through slicers and a timeline. So I took out date. Now let's add a timeline. Now it'll show date here because it was stored as a date. So let's click that, click OK, and now we actually have a timeline. We could do it by quarters or years. So if you only want to look at 2016, here's your 2016. If you want to look at 2017, here's only 2017. If you want to look at both, and we're back to 455,000. Now if I want to delete it, just click delete. And the last thing will be a slicer. Now I love slicers. Well, no connection. I have to click on here into the pivot table. Now we have the ability to slice by a lot of different things. Let's do it by a group segment. So we have big, small, and medium. Let's click here. Let's get rid of here. We only want to look at big. There it is. We only want to look at small. Rather medium. There it is. Small. There it is. Or you can have the multi-select option here. And we're back. Again, same thing as the timeline. Click on the slicer and just delete if you don't like it this way, and then you can just add the group segment back to columns. So those three are three of my favorite things to use: the timeline, the slicer, and grouping dates. Thanks, guys.